Okay, we are live on all fronts.
Yay! Hello.
Woo!
Hi, baby. Of course.
So cute. Okay. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Rebellious Counselor Live. This is the show we've all been waiting for like me forever. And I know a lot of you guys are so excited about having Katie Kelly with us tonight, who is a medium, a Reiki master, and she's also a intuitive development coach, which we're going to have Katie explain all of those things so we understand what that is. And the last 2 weeks, I've been doing shows focused on spirituality and the aspects of spirituality in counseling. And grief counseling is a place very near and dear to my heart. I do a lot of it, have been through much loss myself, as I know also has our guest, Katie. And I think loss certainly propels us to this kind of work. And I had a really amazing experience with Katie. I don't know if it was a year and a half ago or so, when I first was connected with Katie through just a mutual person that knew her. And Katie was able to connect me to my mom, which was huge for me because not only did it help me with my own issues surrounding my mother's grief, but it also set me off on this incredible spiritual journey because once I knew that my mom was really there, then it just opened up this whole beautiful world of spirituality to me. And I've also used Katie in my work. I consult with her sometimes when I have very difficult grief cases and people, no matter how much therapy you do, it's just not making the connection that they need. And so this is where Katie can really come in and level up the therapy and help people really get that sense of peace and that connection to someone who has passed away. So although Katie's working on a little bit of an audio delay, so she's not slow, she's just hearing a little bit of a delay, which we think is going to go away. But Katie, the beautiful Katie, welcome to the Rebellious Counselor Live. How are you doing tonight?
I am wonderful. I'm so happy to be here. I feel like this has been a long time coming. I feel like we talked about this a long time ago, and here we are. So it's finally coming to fruition.
I know. We did. I think before I even had a reading with you, I was like, oh my God, I need you to come on my show. And then like just life went where it went and I moved away and you had another baby and like so much has happened. So much life has happened, but I'm so honored and excited to have you here. So the first question that I think many people have, especially for those who may not be familiar with what a medium is, can you explain to everybody what exactly does a medium do?
Yeah. So a lot of people use the words psychic and medium like they mean the same thing. And I love to clarify that.
Okay.
Every medium is a psychic, but not every psychic is a medium.
Okay.
So basically, psychic information is information that you know about what's happening right now, the trajectory of your life, being able to see the past, present, and future, those types of things. But mediumship is different because it's connecting you with your departed loved ones, or your spirit guides, or ancestors, or people on your path, things like that. So, kind of two different disciplines there, general feeling.
Yeah, because actually last week we had a psychic on who, does not do mediumship. I mean, and so like she was very clear about that too. So that's cool that, within the genre, there's so many different aspects that you can get into. Um, so
Totally.
so just so if someone hears the word medium, then that would indicate that that is a person who can connect to people who have transitioned into the other dimension or crossed over, however you want to say it.
Right. Totally.
Okay. Can you tell us how you came to be a medium and how did that unfold for you in your life?
Yeah, it's I always tell people kind of the same way. I've always been weird. I've
I don't
always
think you're
had
weird at all, but okay.
That's nice of you to say. I definitely embrace all my weird, obviously, but growing up it was weird because I would just know things. I would get feelings on people, on places, on events, and sometimes avoid things or be magnetized towards things. And it was really overwhelming. I kind of had no idea what was happening most of the time. But it kind of stayed that way, I guess. It didn't really progress farther until much later. And I had a near death experience um, in what year was it? 2015. My now 7-year-old was only 2 months old. And I basically had a really weird viral pneumonia. And I was in a coma. On a ventilator and all of that fun stuff for about a month.
Wow.
And after that, it was like just a whole different scene. It was definitely more connection to the other side. It was definitely less avoidable. Everything pretty much shifted at that moment. It was like I couldn't remember what it was like before.
Wow. So did that sort of occur while you were in the coma or was it more when you came out of it?
Kind of both. It was interesting because everything in my life had changed before I could really fully embrace the gift of mediumship. One of the things that we talk about in intuition development is raising your vibration. That's a key step in being able to talk to people on the other side because those are high vibrational beings. So when I woke up from my coma, I realized all the things that were in my life that were causing me to have a very low vibration. So it kind of I kind of had to fix those things before I could really embrace mediumship fully or make any sense out of it. At first, I really just thought I was having a nervous breakdown, and that's the actual truth. Like, I really thought something was wrong with me. I was losing it, you know? So it took, took a little time before I realized that I wasn't just like going off the deep end, and I was just kind of opening up spiritually. And the things that I was feeling, seeing, and experiencing were a reflection of the people who I was sitting with. And it was just kind of this incredible realization that maybe it wasn't for no reason, you know? So I got with a coach myself and learned a few very, very important things and kind of studied my business just to see where it would go. And here we are today, and it's the best job in the whole entire world. It's the most fulfilling thing I could ever hope for. It's the best job ever. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine. Well, I'm starting to be able to imagine a little bit, but what your work I know just did for me personally, it was life changing, like absolutely life changing. So, and I know that so many of my clients who have had interactions with you, who have come to you for readings. In fact, recently we did one like together with a client. I mean, I didn't do the reading, but like I was just there for support and it's just so special. um and so I think it's so brave that you were able to embrace that, and so I'm so thankful because you've been a major player in my life, and I know so many other people's lives.
You're out there doing the work though. It's you went and found it, so
Well, you
proud
brought
of
it to
you.
me though, but I thank you for that. I really do. I just, and what could be more meaningful, really? As a therapist, I believe that probably the most painful thing in the world is losing somebody that you love, and that loss can come from other things besides death. It can also come from, the end of a relationship, a divorce, people moving away. But when people are alive and you still have a good relationship with them, you're able to communicate with them. But when somebody dies and they're no longer in this physical realm, it feels so final, and it feels so painful and so devastating. Um, and you wonder, where did they go? Are they okay? Um, how can I know that they're okay? And to be able to help somebody connect to that is really special work, and it's really great to incorporate it into counseling. Um, so let's get into some of the fun, like kind of viewer questions that people wanted me to ask, and that I think everyone's kind of curious about. So if you can at all, can you explain to us what is the app? Where is it? What is it? What do you know about it from the souls that you've met, that you've spoken to?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And the answer is kind of loaded because the answer is different for everybody. What you experience immediately after you leave this lifetime or this realm, whatever you consider it, is totally dependent on what you believe is going to happen when you leave this physical vessel. What you believe is going to happen.
Wow.
That's the first thing that you experience. Eventually, you realize that all of it is kind of the same.
Okay.
Nirvana, heaven, high vibrational frequency states, whatever you want to refer to it as, it's all at the same place. It's the vibration of bliss, of purity, all of those things. So you kind of all end up in the same place anyway. But you might view it through the lens of heaven, and I might view it through the lens of nirvana, and somebody else might think that it's something else.
Right.
So it's kind of cool in that way.
That's amazing. So in essence, the reflection of your consciousness is kind of what you see over there, or wherever it is.
It's cool. Because that's the law of attraction.
Okay.
That doesn't change. It's instantaneous after you leave this body. So what you think about, you bring about in a lifetime. But what you think about, you bring about your afterlife as well.
Wow. So, should we not worry about our loved ones?
Absolutely not. And it's kind of a barrier for people in their healing of grief because they feel like, when we have to heal a relationship with somebody who's with us in the physical, we can call them on the phone and have a conversation and hash it out, or bring in a mediator, or do something to repair that situation, basically. But when our loved ones are passed away, we have this illusion of separation from them, and we have this illusion that they're not somewhere where we can reach. A higher vibrational frequency does not mean a separation from us. They're always,
Okay.
There's no way for them to be separate from us. It's all touching, it's all string theory. So, yeah.
So can you, explain that to us a little bit? Because I'm just starting to understand all of this with the different vibrational frequencies. And so if I'm trying to explain it to any of our viewers, they're going, what does that even mean? How does law of attraction play into that? Could you explain that to us?
Yeah. So at a super basic level, everything is made up of energy. So me and you, and your desk and your microphone, um, and your thoughts and your ideas, your soul, all of those things are made up of energy. All of that energy is always moving or vibrating at a specific frequency. So when somebody is in heaven or is crossed over, basically their soul has reached a high vibrational frequency, is what that means. So a medium is somebody who can spin their frequency up so that we can kind of touch with people on the other side, if that makes sense. It's kind of like a radio dial.
Okay. And how do you do that? How do you raise your frequency?
Yeah, through healing, healing in yourself, healing your relationships, removing yourself from places and people who don't serve you. Um, healing from grief and loss. But also taking care of your physical vessel is really important too. Making sure that you drink water and you have some self-care and you take deep breaths and move your body, honor yourself, rest, all of those things. It's all tied in. But, like one of the things that I think you and I talk about a lot is how what I do is great. It doesn't take the place of talking therapy though. It's different. That's a whole way that you have to take care of yourself too, in my opinion. To have a nice high vibrational frequency, your mental health has to be taken care of.
Yeah, thank you for saying that because I was listening to you and I'm thinking, and I've been, as you know, very dedicated to, raising my vibration, and it has taken me years. I mean, literally, like years of work and a lot of healing and just a lot of stuff. And so it's not something that necessarily happens like that, but it's almost like a reward of, of doing that kind of work for yourself. And I think that you and I both are in the healing arts, however you want to look at it. Therapists are looked at as, it's a science-based degree, but really we're healing arts. And I think whatever works, and my dog is agreeing with us. He's always got something to say. So, so if somebody can anybody do it? Can anybody reach that frequency that they would be able to communicate with their loved ones who have passed on?
Absolutely. And I think, there's more tools available than people think to be able to connect. A lot of times you are already connecting with your loved ones, you're just talking yourself out of it. So the first thing I would suggest to everybody who's listening to this is that if you think it's a sign, it's a sign.
Okay.
Just let yourself have it. Be confident. You are a medium. I'm telling you. Okay? Listen to my words. You are a medium. Trust yourself. Trust the signs. Trust the things that you think intuitively, because if you're feeling it, it's for a reason.
Yeah, I used to have full on conversations with my mom before I met you. And I was pretty sure I was just making them up, because I was like, oh, this is what Arlene would say, and this is what she would tell me. And so I was like, oh, it's just, I'm just imagining this. And then when I met you, I'm like, oh, maybe not. Maybe that's really my mom. And now I believe 100% that it is. But that was something that takes a lot of, you really have to sort of like tune that, as you say, you have to tune that frequency or that vibration. So anyone can do it if they choose. Are certain people born with a gift for it? Because I do hear of that a lot.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that it doesn't mean that somebody that isn't born with a gift shouldn't still try it. I think that there's almost a mean girl culture in spirituality that some people are like, oh, I'm a third generation medium, or I'm grew up as a witch or something, and so you're not entitled to this. And I'm like, there's room here for all of us. So I don't like to preach any of that, but I do think that some people are, like for me, my astrological chart says that I'm a 29 degrees Scorpio moon. So if you know anything about astrology, you know
Do
that
not.
that's a placement. Um, some people might say that I was born to be intuitive because I have a 29-degree Scorpio moon. So maybe that helped me out. It didn't. I don't know.
I don't know. Okay. So, how do you get the information? So I know I ask you this personally all the time because I'm so fascinated by it. And I'm sure everybody watching also is. So can you explain to us like the different ways that you connect with people, souls over, in the other side? And how do you do that in the different ways that it can come about?
Yeah, and it kind of is unique to every single situation, the way that it presents itself to me. But there's lots of different, they call them clairs.
Okay.
Those are kind of like the languages that spirit speaks to us through.
Okay.
So a lot of us have heard the term clairvoyance, which is like the most widely known one of the psychic gifts. But I think that you're just going to see me go on little rants here, I guess. But not everybody who's psychic is clairvoyant, and not everybody who's a medium is clairvoyant. Clairvoyance is an extremely difficult psychic gift to develop.
Okay.
It's not the one that I suggest for people who are just kind of like getting into things.
Okay.
Clairvoyance means clear seeing.
Oh, I see. I see.
Yeah. And I think if we started with one of the different clairs, like cognizance, which is clear knowing, or just empathy, if you just tap into your own empathy, I think that you would have good success, if you were wanting to develop your psychic gifts, if you will.
So you get information not necessarily because you're seeing spirits, because I've seen you in multiple readings, and I always wonder, like, is she seeing my mom, or is she seeing her like in her mind and in images? Is she hearing voice? Like, how do you receive all that information?
Right. And it's kind of a combination. So sometimes there is clear seeing. There's that clairvoyant piece where I do see an image or a picture in my head of somebody's face or a detail. Sometimes it's a symbol or a sign. Sometimes I actually hear a voice, which is helpful because a lot of people remember their loved ones' voices.
Yeah.
So if they have a powerful voice or a deep voice or a quiet voice, those are details that can really help people understand the personality behind the person who's communicating with me, But yeah, sometimes it's more of a feeling. It just kind of pops into your brain when you're kind of in that space and set up to do a reading. Things just kind of come automatically. And intuition is all about just learning to grab on those threads and know which ones are having to do with the person you're speaking to, or it's just flying around in your brain.
So when you're communicating to a soul, somebody's loved one, are you able to have a full-on conversation with them? So in other words, if you and I were in a reading with my mom and I said, hey, can you ask my mother this specifically, or does it happen more like where she's giving you the information that she wants, and that's sort of where it sits?
Kind of both. You are always able to ask. And I always encourage people to ask. Talk to your loved ones in general. Just tell them what's going on with you in your life. They're always happy to help. And that's what they're there for.
Do they see us? Can they see what we're doing?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. And, it's one of those things, too. You have to have good boundaries with spirit.
Okay.
So if there are places that you don't want them to be, you know, you can kindly tell them, this is my sacred space, this is my temple, please wait outside. If you're somebody that freaks out or whatever, don't worry, you know, they'll respect your boundaries. But
So they
yeah,
can kind of like, they can see us, because somebody, I don't know if I think I read it in a book or maybe heard it on a podcast that um like spirits, like meaning our loved ones who have crossed over, that they can see us but we can't really see them. So it's like they're tapping on the glass, like, oh hey, there's
hilarious.
Elizabeth, like look,
Right.
look, you know. And then like, how did they know that any of us are coming to you? Like, do they get some sort of like knowing, like, okay, Elizabeth has an appointment with Katie, so come on family, let's go, you know? Did they? I bet they do.
I think so. You know, and I think it's like a telepathic knowing. I think that they just kind of know, you know, they're there with you. So they watched you schedule the appointment, I guess.
Yeah. Or
They know where
they
to go.
guided me to you.
Absolutely. And I truly feel like that's the case sometimes too. I do feel like there are lots of situations of serendipity where I get in touch with somebody or they come across my page or they listen to this or whatever. And they're like, oh, interesting. I was just thinking about trying to find a medium to go to. And that's the case, then call me.
Yeah.
You know?
So tell us, what can we expect? So if somebody really wants to do this and they call you and they schedule an appointment, actually, before I ask you what should we expect, I want to talk about some things that when I've offered my clients your service, I'm like, you should call Katie, let's get her involved. Sometimes people get scared and they go, I don't want to do that, or I don't want to do, and then I'll say, okay, I'll let it go. And I might inquire, why are you scared? And I think there's so many reasons. I think some people are sort of like, they have this idea that, this departed loved one's going to like, say something that's going to freak them out, or, jump out of a box and say boo or something, like they have these,
Right.
these ideas of how it's going to go down. And it's nothing at all like that. It's much softer and it's much more, flowing and beautiful than I think people get in their head of what it's going to look like. So do you find that sometimes when people call you that they're a little apprehensive, a little nervous?
Totally. I think that, and I hope that my appearance sometimes disarms people because that's usually the first thing that people say to me. They're like, I didn't expect you to look like that. I'm like, I don't know what that's really supposed to mean,
I
but
don't know either.
I don't know if they think that I'm supposed to have a turban on my head or what, but I hope that that disarms people too because they are nervous that I'm going to be some crazy gypsy woman, I guess. And I mean, you could call me that, I guess, too. But yeah, it's I'm just a regular person, and it flows just like a regular conversation. I think that every medium has a different style. I think that mine is really casual. I like to just make it like a talk. I'm very much a put my hair in a ponytail and sit on the floor with you kind of person. I want to level with you. I want to be with your friend. I want to shoot it straight. I want you to get the whole entire picture I can. I'm there to really give you as much as I can. So, but yeah, it always just flows really nicely. There's never any pressure. I mentioned also ahead of time that everything that I see from spirit is always for the highest and the best good of all people and parties involved. What that means is that I'm never going to tell you something that's just going to scare you. I'm not going to be that person. I'm not going to like fear monger you. If there's something that you can do to change the trajectory or help yourself or set yourself up for success in some way, then yeah, we might talk about something. But I'm not going to say you're going to drop dead when you're 83 from a heart attack. No.
Right. It's nothing like that.
Nothing like that. And honestly, if you have a healer or an intuitive talk to you like that, then they need to talk to somebody about their ethics, because that's kind of a pet peeve of mine. I just don't feel like all things are for us to meddle in.
Right.
And you can really hurt people with
Yeah, you can.
information. So
Yeah.
it's never anything like that.
Right. So, I mean, so if anyone's watching and, they're wondering, because I do remember before the first time I came to you, I just couldn't, like, I had never been to a medium before. So I really didn't know what would this look like. And so it is very calming and very casual. In fact, um, Katie and I did this incredible event last summer. In at my old office in Pittsburgh, where we had maybe like 15 of my clients come, and Katie did this. Pretty much everybody got to connect to somebody that night, and we all still talk about that event. It was incredible, and it's just like Katie's explained. It's just like this, kind of like me and Katie are talking right now. It's not really any different, except the subject matter is different, but that's it.
Right. Yeah, it's always really nice, and there's opportunities to ask questions. It's not like I just go into a trance and say what I say, and there's no dialogue back and forth. It's very much communicative, between me and the person that I'm waiting for. And it's always really nice too, because my intention is always to connect people with their loved ones, of course, but also to their spirit guides, to
Yes.
ask questions about, their soul's purpose or their relationships that they're in, or, how they can help their healing journey, all of those things. So we talk about everything we can together.
So okay, so let's talk a little bit, because our guest last week, she mentioned also talking, we briefly mentioned spirit guides, and I just love this topic. So do you mind, can I ask you some questions?
Oh, sure.
Okay, so what are spirit guides? Does everyone have them? How many do we have? How do we get to know them? All of that fun stuff.
Yeah, so spirit guides are super cool. Their sole purpose is to help guide you towards your highest and best self. They can come in any shape or form. Your spirit guide does not have to be somebody who you knew, and then they passed away. That's a really common misconception, but the way that I kind of remember it in my head is that little babies have spirit guides too, even if they haven't experienced any loss. Everybody has spirit guides. So even if you're somebody who hasn't had a lot of significant death in your life, you still have access to that spirit team that's there to, push you in the right direction. But yeah, sometimes you can have a spirit animal.
Oh.
Sometimes your spirit guides appear to be angels or archangels. So it's really interesting. Everybody's got kind of a unique squad on their behalf, if that makes sense, and it's different for everybody. But and everybody has a different number of spirit guides too. So it's not like you get a set 2 and that's it. It's pretty cool too. Sometimes your spirit guides will change.
Okay.
Which I find to be fascinating too.
That is interesting.
Yeah, just depending on what you're going through in life.
So can you, like, if someone wants to come to you just for that, can you talk to people's spirit guides? Can you say like how many, or really? That is amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's always really, really cool to dig into all the symbolism that we find and how the spirit guides express themselves. So if you are really connecting with dragonflies, and I tell you, I think your spirit guide is a dragonfly, like we might dive into the symbolism and the meaning behind that. And what color do you see the dragonfly in? Does it speak to you, or is it silent? Like there's always so many messages and layers into your spirit guides. And
so do you, like, I don't want to put you on the spot or anything, but like, can you see if I have spirit? I mean, I know I do, but I don't know like, I know I do because I feel them around me all the time, but I don't know anything much more than that. Like, so can you actually say, yes, I see these, or is it something in your mind? Or because you can tell me, I mean, you could say it. If I find it so cool.
Oh, it's so cool. Yours is totally your dad is like the most apparent right now. He's just,
Oof.
he loves to just cheer you on for all the things. So he feels like so proud of you in these moments where you're showing up and your sole purpose. Like, what could make a dad more proud than that, you know?
Right. Wow.
He just
So
loves that.
how do you sense like how do you sense that? Can you explain? Just, I want people to sort of get some sort of, I know it's difficult to put into words, and I know that you're right, and I like feel that right now, but how do you explain that connection to somebody?
Yeah, so the first way that I can tell that I'm getting what I would call like an intuitive hit or a thought that's coming in my head that's not just my own thought, that it's because it's something to do with you, um, is I have a space in my body where I feel like it's my intuition talking to me. It resonates all the way from my heart down to my like root chakra at the base of my spine. And it just feels like a little bit of almost a warmth or a tingle. And that's how I know that I'm kind of hearing something that's intuitive as opposed to, just something in my own head.
So, like, when the thought of, Elizabeth's dad, Sydney Statlander's here, when you had that thought, you kind of get that tingle.
Mm-hmm.
And here's
And the first thought that I have is just, oh, there he is.
Yeah, I keep it on my desk. Yeah, it's really old, but he's looking pretty handsome in his white suit. I think that was in the 70s, probably. Yeah.
That is so cute. I love that. Yeah, it's neat. So no wonder I'm saying he's there with you and he's right on your desk.
Yeah.
That's neat. Yeah, no, I think the first thing that I feel with him always is like the warm love that he has for you and this like celebratory stance. He's always just like,
he likes the party. He likes the party.
yeah, that too.
Yeah, that is so nice. That's so awesome. So when people are coming to you, they can come to you for not only talking to their, departed loved ones, but also to their spirit guides. Now, our spirit guides, correct me if I'm wrong, are not always your family members?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and sometimes they're just kind of like transient beings. But more often than not, they're ancestors if you look far enough back or significant in your soul's history in some way.
So,
but sometimes it's not like a super close connection, if that makes sense.
That we know of, but maybe they feel very close to us.
Right, maybe. Exactly.
So somewhere, somehow, if someone's coming to you, they have many things that they can discuss, not just necessarily, talking to a loved one who's passed on. But what do you think are some of the benefits or some of the really, I guess, amazing things that happen when you're able to connect clients to the loved one that has passed on that they just want to talk to so much?
Yeah, I think the two things that I always ask for from spirit are help them to find clarity and help them to find closure. Those are two massive, massive things that people come to me to find. So many people want clarity on the way somebody passed, the circumstances around their passing. And I mean, that just causes such a huge barrier to healing. Like I said, when you can't wrap your mind around what happened.
I know, yeah.
Even, so that's a huge one, of course, but closure is the other one. A lot of times people pass away and we didn't get to share our thoughts with them or make amends with them, or maybe we fell out of touch with them. And I think having that connection with them now just gives the opportunity to have that last moments, you know, or have
Mm-hmm.
one more moment with them so that you can kind of like close that box in your head,
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
it does. I
Um,
mean, it does. That was, I think, when I first came to you, what I was struggling with was surrounding my mom's death more so than my dad's. And I remember thinking, I just, I wasn't sure if she was okay with her own death for circumstances
yeah.
that I shared with you. And it was bothering me for 6 years before I, found you. And I never talked to anyone else about it. And, now I can, like, it's amazing. I can openly talk about it on this format. But at the time, it was like something very private that I didn't share. And it was sort of gnawing at me. And like, as soon as you and I talked, it was like, boom, like you were right in it. Like, and you didn't know me from a hole in the wall. You had no idea who I was. So it
Yeah.
was so impressive, but I was struggling with that piece of closure. And it was like I couldn't rest until I knew that she was okay.
Yeah. And I think it's continuity of life too. That's so important to like experience, you know, that she's might not be with you in physical form, but how else would I know what I knew unless she was
Yeah.
around, you know?
Right. Right. Which made me feel so much better, and I
Yeah.
think that, those are the things that make mediumship so special because a therapist, a lot of, I don't know if you probably know this, but a lot of people watching don't. A lot of therapists don't want to do grief therapy. They run from it. I even had, unfortunately, colleagues in grad school who were in school with me to be therapists that did not call me when my mother died. And when I
Wow.
later confronted them, like, wow, how could you not even call me, I didn't know what to say. Or and I'm like, wait a minute, you're going to school to be a therapist and you don't know what to say to like a close friend when her mom dies? Like that just blew my mind. And so many people are afraid of this topic of death and dying. And when it's the most natural and guaranteed thing that is ever going to happen to any of us. And
Right.
even people in my profession, they run from it. And I think there's very few of us that will do grief counseling, and there's even fewer that specialize in it because I think even as therapists, mental health professionals want to have a solution. You're in a bad relationship. Here's some things you can do. We can talk about it. We can do this. You can leave. You can stay. They want to provide an answer. But when it comes to death, no, I don't have any answers. I feel like I'm getting some as I grow, but basically, it's not a solvable problem per se. It is a continuing issue that we'll all always deal with. And so, do you find that, when you are in a field that focuses on death, do you find that some people don't know how to react to that?
Totally. And, you know, that stigma keeps grief and death in the dark. And it keeps people from opening up and talking about what they feel fully too. And it's just this really yucky thing. But yeah, it's people definitely don't know how to handle it.
Mm-mm.
There's not a lot of information on how to like grieve properly, or how to run those emotions in your body, or how to support yourself or love on yourself through trauma involving grief. And I feel like those conversations absolutely need to happen more. And it is hard, but I was so devastated in my life, because of grief. And I just wish that I had a medium, someone who could have like walked me through that. That would have helped my healing so much. And I had my own questions, but I doubted myself. I doubted what I was hearing. I doubted the signs and the things that I was seeing and feeling, and that's the same thing I think most of us do. It wasn't until later when I had really an awakening that I felt more clear. And now I feel like I have a good relationship with my loved ones in spirit. But yeah, it's tough. Grief is definitely, it's a touchy subject, and it touches every single place in your life.
It sure
It
does.
touches relationships, your performance at work, it's your physical health. It's just everything permeates.
It really does. I mean, yeah, death, when you lose someone you love, it definitely, I couldn't say, I'm going to leave it because I couldn't say it any better. It's interesting. I'm finding as I get older, and I'm going through my own, spiritual journey, that we've been taught so much backwards, so much backwards in our society. And we have been conditioned to, when we think of death, we think of skull and I hear a baby.
Hold up.
It's okay.
My baby.
It's
Give me
okay.
just 1 second.
Yeah. So while Katie's just going to tend to something, her new baby, we have babies and dogs here. It's all good. When we think about death and dying, we tend to think of darkness, a skull and crossbones, coffins, things that are dark and that are very unsettling and very depressing. We don't necessarily think about it as something that is, there you are. Hi. We don't think about death as something happy or something with flowers or something that makes us all happy. We think of it as, skull and crossbones, darkness, death, coffins, Halloween, scary,
Right.
And I'm learning how backwards that is. And I'm not saying that it shouldn't be very sad and very difficult when you lose someone, because that's just a human emotion and that's the way that it is. But there's maybe another way of thinking about death and dying.
Totally. Yeah. No, and I think when we can embrace it as a transition instead of as a finality or as an ending, then I think we can really open ourselves up to healing in a big way,
Yeah. And you're good at helping people with that. So, 2 more questions and I'll let you go. So,
Okay.
Tell us about, how do you help your clients process their grief and sadness over losing a loved one?
Yeah, so I think the thing that I'm really big on is trying to leave people with some tools. Having practical ways to move the energy around or to work through a hard moment or a bad day or all of those things. And with grief, the thing that I always go back to is breathing, breath. My goal is always to help my clients take at least one good breath when they're in the middle of a reading, because it's an absolute game changer. We store grief energetically in our lungs. So when we are able to take those deep cleansing breaths, we can do wonders for our energy and for our healing overall. So if I can help people breathe, I can help people process in a way.
I like that. So if somebody wants to get in touch with you, and you also offer Reiki, you offer, obviously mediumship and intuitive development and all kinds of really amazing things. How does someone get a hold of you? And of course, I will post all of this after the show too.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you. So the best way to know what I'm up to and what I'm doing, if I'm having any classes coming up, workshops, something like that, is to follow me on social media. Just Clarity with Katie on Facebook and Instagram. I do have a website, claritywithkatie.com. But you are welcome to send me an email. All my contact information is on my Instagram, or send me a message on Facebook or Instagram, and we will chat and see what I can help you with,
And just also important to note that Katie does a lot of virtual work. So if you don't live in Pennsylvania, fear not, because you can do the readings over Zoom, no problem, correct?
Totally, totally. Yeah, I'm doing a lot of virtual work right now just with the baby.
Yes, the baby, COVID, all the crazy changes of life. My whole practice is basically virtual now. So, and I think probably, I'm guessing you too.
Yeah, it's pretty much gone in that trajectory pretty steadily, but it does open some doors too. So I'm
It
glad that we can
does.
connect with people on a broader base.
Yeah, it definitely does. So all you have to do if you want to get in touch with Katie is follow her social media link, which will be on the show, claritywithkatie.com, and you can just stick your information right in there and she will get back to you. And how long are the readings on average?
So on average, they're an hour. Truly, I could talk to people for probably more like 3 or 4. Because I always feel like that's not enough time to say all the things that I would love to say. But I do try to respect your time and the day that you might have planned and keep it to an hour. But there's a variety of different services available. So if you wanted to combine a mediumship reading and a tarot reading, if you have a lot going on, we'll just schedule it specific to you.
Okay. Okay. So no need to be afraid because the reading will look just like me and Katie sitting here. It'll just be you instead of me and Katie talking about and actually they don't even have to really tell you, right? I mean, with me, you just like boom, jumped right in.
Yep. I mean, of course, if there's something that you want to focus on, I'm so happy to do that. But usually I don't need a whole lot from you to get it going.
Right. No, you jump right in there. So there's really nothing to fear or to feel. There's no pressure. And of course, if you are one of my clients and you want to get a hold of Kate or you want to have a threesome all together, we can do that. It's amazing and really can be so healing. So I want to impress upon people that the mediumship piece at minimum is so healing and it's such a wonderful part of the grief process when you can actually get information. I mean, and you get pretty good information that it's very evidence-based work that you do.
Yeah, that's always my goal is to get some good specifics for people so that they can, again, feel that connection.
Yeah. Okay. So, Katie, any final words? And when I end the show, don't go anywhere because I just want to talk to you for a minute afterwards. But any final words for people about who are new or, are just flirting with the idea of coming to see you?
Yeah, so pick a sign that you want the universe to show you when you're ready.
Okay.
My advice.
So you can,
maybe it's a blue butterfly, maybe it's 1111, but when you see that sign, then you know you're ready.
That's a great idea, right? So that sign could be anything, like anything. Okay.
Anything.
So thank you so much for being here and sharing your wonderful talents with us. And everybody have a great night. It's going to take me a minute to just turn off all these switches here, but have a great night, everyone. And I will see you back here on the Rebellious Counselor next Wednesday night at 8 o'clock, every Wednesday night at 8. And if you need to talk to a therapist in the meantime, because you're dealing with any issue at all, relationships, grief, oh my gosh, anything, anxiety, depression, you know how to reach me at eliztherapist@gmail.com and the Rebellious Counselor now at gmail.com. And I'm on social media, easy to find. So everyone have a great night and we'll see you next time.